Most property professors spend a lot of time early in the course asking when somebody acquires an unknown resource. And when they do so, they have two agendas in mind. One is to ask, as a policy matter, in what circumstances is it appropriate for somebody who does not yet have rights in a resource to then claim rights that have priority over the rights of everybody else who might have gotten that resource too. And then the acquisition doctrine then answers much more specific questions if we're talking about fox pelts, if we're talking about land, if we're talking about an idea. What are the doctrinal details you need to master to know whether one person has acquired prior access over this resource to the exclusion of everybody else? Acquisition lets us focus on both on the kind of the doctrinal details about particular resources, and it lets us tackle high-level questions about why have property at all, why not let resources be in a free-for-all where anybody can get them. In the tradition, there are two main sets of answers to the question, if a resource is unknown, why give somebody prior access? And one answer comes from Locke, and Locke's answer is labor. If one person does work to find a resource and then incorporate it into his life plans and uses it then to make his life better, the search, the effort, and then most important, the use of the resource for that person's well-being give that person a reason to tell everybody else, I'm now using this, you go find other things that are not yet owned and use those for your own well-being. And this process of undertaking purposive work to make one's own life better and incorporating a resource into that purposive work, that's labor. The other justification for having property comes from Grotius and Pufendorf. And Grotius and Pufendorf talk about possession. And possession it's conduct that signals to other people that you've done something to signal, I now have incorporated this thing into my projects, stay away. And law professors and philosophers like to ask which is more important, labor or possession. And I think the answer is they're both important. They're two different ways of focusing on the same kind of behavior. They're just focusing on different implications of the behavior. So if you have a resource, the resource is going to implicate the person who ends up with property and then all the people who are going to owe duties to the person who ends up with the property. And so when somebody starts laboring on a resource, it's not quite enough to say, I'm going to make my life better to do so. The person also needs to signpost or to communicate to others, I'm taking this thing out of the commons, I'm going to start using it for my benefit. Then in acquisition doctrine, you see this play out. Like acquisition doctrines tend to focus on simple behavior that seems to focus on possession. Have you occupied land? Are you farming it or have you put a fence around it? Have you captured a resource? If you've invented a new idea, have you invented it? Are you using it? Are you keeping it secret? Those are all things that focus on possession. But possession in simple contexts, it's a twofer. Because conduct like capturing, fencing, keeping secret, it's claiming possession, but 999 times in 1,000, you expect that the person who has possessions also going to labor in a productive way with the resource.